Hello and welcome to Using Mendeley at RIT. I am Roman Kashikar, Computing and Information Sciences Librarian at the RIT Libraries. And in this video, I will walk you through getting started with using Mendeley as a new user. In order to help you and others learn about using Mendeley, I've created a guide on the RIT Library's Info Guides page. And that guide is at infoguides.rit.edu/Mendeley. And I'm viewing that now on my screen. Mendeley is a free reference manager that runs on a crowdsourced database of references contributed by its community of users. Like all reference managers, Mendeley helps you gather and organize all of the different references and documents that you may be reading as part of your research. And it allows you to make properly formatted citations in documents that you are writing, such as papers or proposals or articles. Before I begin, I'd like to point out that Mendeley has recently released their reference manager tool. This is their next generation tool. Mendeley Desktop, however, is still supported, and as that is the version of Mendeley I know the best, that is what I will be demonstrating in this video. In order to get started, there are steps listed here on the guide, and these are, simply put, what you need to do to begin as a new user of Mendeley. First, download Mendeley Desktop to your computer. It is compatible with Windows, Mac, and Linux. Any operating system you are using should work with Mendeley. And please follow the download Mendeley link and then download Mendeley Desktop for Windows. As I am already a Mendeley user, I already have Mendeley installed. Now notice that it's asking me to enter an email address and password to log in. Well, this brings us to part 2, which is to create a Mendeley account on the web. Notice, though, that Mendeley does not connect to your existing RIT computing account. So follow the link to create a Mendeley account and register as a new Mendeley user. You'll see something like this where you're asked to enter an email address and choose a password. Now I will log in with my email address and my Mendeley password. And simply put, we are ready to use Mendeley. However, there are a few more things that I believe are important to take care of as a new user. Under the Tools menu, you would want to install the plugin for Microsoft Word or Get Mendeley Site. However, I will be covering the use of the Word plugin in part 2 of this series, so I won't walk through that at this point. But you should also install a web importer in the browser of your choice. You can do that from the Tools menu in Mendeley Desktop, or going back to the guide, you can install the Mendeley web importer from their website, and it is compatible with Chrome or Firefox or Edge or Safari, basically any major browser that you may be using. When installed, as I have already done, the Mendeley web importer will appear in the upper right corner of your browser window. And with these things being completed, we're ready to begin adding documents and organizing our research in Mendeley. There are many ways to build your library in Mendeley. And on the Mendeley info guide, I provide instructions on several of these different methods. And you can use this guide as a reference point for you anytime in the future. In this video, I'd like to demonstrate what are perhaps the two most useful versions, the most likely ones that you will use, which is a direct import of a PDF and using the web importer. So if you have a lot of PDFs already stored in a location on your computer, it's actually quite simple and straightforward to add those to Mendeley. I have a saved PDF here for demonstration, and all I'm going to do is use my mouse to drag and drop that into Mendeley Desktop. Instantly, Mendeley found the citation metadata for this article, and it also saved a copy of the PDF, which is indicated by this little PDF icon here in the desktop central pane. So right away, I've been able to not only save a document, but also get the full citation and the abstract and much additional information about this particular article saved in Mendeley and ready to use for any purpose that I may need to use it for. So the other method to use would be the web importer. And earlier in the video, I mentioned installing that for the browser of your choice. So it's a plugin that lives in your browser. And the web importer is most useful when you are conducting some searching online, such as I have here in ProQuest. So if I see a result that I wish to save to my Mendeley account, I can use the Mendeley web importer and sign in with my email address and my Mendeley password. We'll wait for a moment for that to sign in. And there is one reference detected on the page. If a PDF of the reference is available, by default, the Mendeley web importer will try to add that as well. And I just check off the exact result, and I've noticed that both the PDF and the reference have now been added to Mendeley. If I go back to my Mendeley account, sometimes you have to resync Mendeley Desktop. Here it is. So if the details are correct, you can say details are correct, or you can search the Mendeley catalog to try to find additional information. This looks pretty right to me, so I'm going to say details are correct. And there we have it. I've added 2 new references to my Mendeley desktop library, and those are now available for me to use in my academic writing. Moving on in the info guide, you'll notice that the next page is about organizing your library within Mendeley. And I'd like to conclude part 1 of this tutorial series by briefly demonstrating a few features of how to navigate in Mendeley Desktop. So we will take a look at Mendeley Desktop here. You can sort by any feature that you want here in the central pane, by the date added, the name of the publication, the year of publication, and so on. So if I wanted to resort this by the year of publication, this will actually allow me to see any references that I have saved that do not have a year of publication. And then I can also look to see what the most recently published documents by reverse sorting. You can also filter by the name of the publication, which is very helpful if you tend to read articles from a specific set of journals. And then, of course, you can also create folders. And folders act exactly as you want them to, or as you would expect them to act. So you can create a folder. This one's called Design. And I have posted some documents to it. I would just simply create the folder by clicking this Create Folder button, give it a name, and then from my library of all documents, simply drag and drop those that I want to be in this folder. And you can toggle on and off the filter by publication. And briefly stated, that's pretty much everything that you can use Mendeley Desktop to do as far as organization. You can also look to see anything that's unsorted, documents which have not been added to any collections in your library. And under the Tools menu, there's also a check for duplicates. In my case, it found no duplicates. But as you add more references, you may choose to use that and deduplicate anything that's in there more than once. So the rest of the guide page here discusses navigating Mendeley's website and using Mendeley groups. And I will commence with part 2 of this series of tutorials by discussing those features. So I will end part 1 here with organizing and navigating Mendeley Desktop. And I hope to see you in part 2.